When it was first reported on June 17, 2017 that the Sixers would be trading with the Celtics in order to move up 2 spots in that year's draft, Sixers fans everywhere celebrated. They would be taking Markelle Fultz, who was the consensus first overall pick, out of Washington. Sam Hinkie's plan to tank for years on purpose in order to acquire high draft picks and build around young talent seemed to be working and seemed to be complete. Markelle Fultz, the first overall pick in 2017, will be playing alongside Ben Simmons, who is the 2016 overall pick, as well as Joel Embiid, who, if not for a foot injury, would have been the consensus number 1 overall pick in the 2014 NBA draft. That's not to mention other talent on the team, including Dario Saric and Robert Covington. A rise in talent also meant that more and more free agents would look at Philadelphia as a potential landing destination, which really hadn't been the case the past few years. On June 18th, the deal was made official and everything seemed to be going smoothly from there. Fultz was officially drafted on June 22nd, and he played that summer in the Summer League, which took place from July 1st through the 17th. His performances included scoring 17 in his debut against the Celtics and having 23 points and 5 assists in another game against the Jazz. The Summer League isn't always the best indicator of talent, but when it ended, Fultz's future seemed pretty bright and he still had tremendous upside in the eyes of most analysts. However, when he had the report back from training camp several months later in late September, it was clear that something had drastically changed regarding his jump shot. Videos surfaced online of him shooting in practice, which raised concern. His shot was a far cry from the technique he used in college. Fultz debuted in the opener that year against the Wizards, and his shot, without exaggeration, genuinely looked like someone who picked up a basketball for the first time. Fultz went on to play 3 more games that October before being ruled out indefinitely by the Sixers. His last game was on October 23rd, and he didn't touch the court again until late March. Being that he was the number 1 overall pick, and his shot had changed so drastically, the fans and media alike wanted an answer. So what is the precise answer for why Fultz started off so strangely? Well, about a year later, we don't even really know, and exploring the question further might actually make you more confused. Something was clearly wrong. Did Fultz injure his shoulder by attempting to tweak his jump shot? Or did he do something completely unrelated to hurt his shoulder, and his poor jump shot the first few games was just him trying to fight through the pain? You'll get a different answer depending on who you ask. There is still even debate on whether or not Fultz's jump shot was tweaked to begin with. Coach Brett Brown and general manager at the time, Brian Colangelo, both went on record saying that tweaks to Fultz's shot were made in the run-up to preseason. Noticed how I said general manager at the time? Well, Colangelo was fired this past summer for secret burner accounts on Twitter that were made public by The Ringer. In these accounts, either run by him or his wife, he undermined players' performance and even leaked confidential team information. One of these accounts even made a comment involving this very issue. When replying to a thread asking why someone who knows nothing about basketball convinced him to change his shot, Colangelo, whether that be Miss or Mrs., replied, "Because the trainer was his father figure and dating his mom." Okay, so pretty blunt response there to sum up how the Sixers organization felt about it, but when you look into who this trainer is, you get a different answer. Well, his name is Keith Williams, and he's been a lifelong friend of Fultz and his family. Williams has been a big basketball mentor for Fultz, and has been alongside him at very important times in his life. Williams was alongside Fultz for the meteoric rise of Fultz going from a JV player to a varsity, to one of the top recruits in the country, to the best player in the nation, to the first overall draft pick. When Williams went on Sports Radio WIP, a Philadelphia sports radio network, and was asked to respond to Brett Brown's comments about him changing his jump shot, he responded, "Oh my God, that's false," and went on to insist that nothing had been changed involving his jump shot. Williams said that his shoulder injury is why his shot looks so strange. The shoulder injury severely affecting his style of play was something that was harped on by Fultz's inner circle. Fultz's agent, Raymond Brothers, told Woj that he had fluid taken out of his shoulder and that the pain is so unbearable that he can't raise his arm to shoot. The only reason that he was playing was to help the team. Then, later, after what was reportedly several calls from Sixers management and Brian Colangelo, Brothers clarified his explanation, saying that Fultz got a cortisone shot, which means that fluid was put into his shoulder, not taken out. From there, the Sixers did confirm that Fultz did undergo some treatment for his shoulder, and while his conditions improved, he was ruled out indefinitely. The Sixers did little after that to clarify when Fultz would be coming back and what a general timetable for his return would look like. During what was thought to be a rest and relaxation period for Fultz, there were ongoing reports that he was shooting the basketball constantly. To make matters worse, video of him playing for the 4-game stretch to start the season showed basketball movement that would leave someone in great pain if they actually had a terrible shoulder pain. PhillyVoice.com showed this play, where he relies on his right shoulder in order to cock back and throw down the basketball. For several months, there was no real explanation or even a timetable for his return. Fultz was all but taken out of the public eye at this point, usually showing up at games in street clothes or the occasional warm-up. When he did warm up before games for the public to see, it was a spectacle on the internet, especially Twitter. Despite being cleared on December 9th, with everything being resolved according to the Sixers, he didn't play again until late March. Many suspected that the Sixers would treat this injury similar to how they treated Simmons and Embiid in the past. That is, to sit out their first year in order to get fully healthy, not rush anything, and get them back fresh at the start of next year. Although this time it didn't really make sense to keep Fultz out. Embiid and Simmons were sitting out partially because of injury, but also partially due to tanking and getting a high draft pick. Bringing a top guy off the bench would be pointless in her development. But in this case, the Sixers were already a playoff team, and their top draft pick would be based on how well the Lakers play, not how well they play, due to trade made by Hinkie previously. So there would be no reason to sit Fultz if he was fully healthy. In February, several months after Fultz was cleared, Brian Colangelo, who was brought in part by the league to offer clarity to the tanking Sixers, offered up this gem.
There's a chance that he's going to be out there soon, and there's a chance that he's not going to play this year. I can't answer that question, Marshall, because we don't know the answer to that.
Thank you for that, Brian. In one of Fultz's first public interviews since the injury began, as more and more people thought Fultz would sit out the rest of the season, Brett Brown dropped this bombshell on March 26th, which came as a surprise to everyone, including NBA insiders.
I want to tell you something about Markelle Fultz. He's going to play tonight.
Wow.
Markelle Fultz will play
What was the
tonight.
decision there, Brett?
It was his decision. It's been fluid, and, I get goosebumps telling you all that. I'm so proud of him.
You can tell by Britt Brown's reaction to his announcement that he, as well as others in the Sixers organization, are really rooting for Markelle Fultz. Philadelphia, which is often given a bad rap by the media and others, embraced Fultz when he returned to the court. In his first game back against the Nuggets, the fans showered him with praise, chanting, "We want Fultz," after only 14 minutes of play.
It's pretty good distance. You should get 4 points for Wilkes-Barre.
His mechanics weren't fully back to what they once were, but he was showing signs of great improvement. He showed grittiness and toughness, and notched a triple-double in the last game of the year against the Bucks, making him the youngest player to do so, at 19 years and 317 days. The Sixers season ended disappointingly, as did Fultz's, as they failed to achieve expectations of reaching either the Eastern Conference Finals or even the NBA Finals. When Ben Simmons started to struggle against the Celtics, he wasn't replaced by Markelle Fultz, but rather a red-hot TJ McConnell. Still, fans were optimistic about Fultz and were hopeful heading into the offseason. There was still plenty of hype and expectations around Fultz. Fultz forewent the 2019 Summer League in favor of working with respected trainer Drew Hamlin, who works with players like Joel Embiid, Mo Bamba, Jason Tatum, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, Andrew Wiggins, as well as others. There wasn't too much video of Fultz shooting this summer, as Hamlin wanted to keep everything as private as possible. Still, it was clear that Fultz was working his ass off. Oh, and Hamlin's explanation for how Fultz played last season? He said Fultz had the yips. The yips is a term coined by a How I Met Your Mother episode, which Urban Dictionary defines as overthinking something so much you become unable to do it. So what exactly happened to Fultz last year? Well, we'll probably never know. But to make things even worse, Hamlin tweeted out today, November 5th, 2018, that Fultz is still not completely healthy. about a month into the Sixers' 2018-2019 season. That is slightly terrifying, but I, along with several others, still believe in Markelle Fultz. Sure, there are plenty of critics, and in some cases rightfully so, but a lot of critics are just going for the low-hanging fruit and criticizing Fultz no matter what he does. Like Sané, who said no matter what Fultz does in the league, he will always be a bust. These critics fail to realize that Fultz is actually improving in many ways. His defense since the beginning of the year has gotten a lot better, and although he is still afraid to shoot in some cases, his confidence is 10 times better than what it was coming into his rookie year. The kid is just comfortable with the ball in his hands. Like Brett Brown says, there are going to be growing pains. I mean, this thing isn't going to happen overnight. But let's not forget, this kid is still 20 years old. He's 20. 20 years old. He hasn't even played a full NBA season yet, and people still want to write him off. It's not unheard of for a top draft pick who only played 1 year of college basketball to take their time in adjusting to the NBA. And with his work ethic, he'll eventually figure it out. It's definitely not a guarantee that he will ever be a great player, but all the signs seem to be there. He's greatly improving since he started, and he's got an incredible support unit in Philadelphia of coaches, veterans, and young players. In addition, it seems like every single Sixers fan has his back. From this billboard in Ridley Park to his fans in China,
I still believe in Fultz. Let's get it, Sixers.
To Charles
That's
Barkley.
why we're excited to see him do well. Now, you just sit at home in your grandma's basement with the drawers on, typing on your damn keyboard. Shut the hell up. We're pulling for Markelle Fultz.
Many fans want him getting more minutes and shooting as many shots as possible, no matter how efficient he is, just so he can prove. While it is fair to criticize Fultz at this point, it's not fair to lump all the Sixers' criticism on him. The Sixers failed at several points this offseason, including waiting until late September to hire a general manager, failing to land an above-average or superstar free agent like LeBron or even Paul George, as well as Ben Simmons, who still hasn't made significant strides in his jump shot from last season. And while Fultz's NBA journey so far has been strange and confusing, and we may never know what happened, I would tell everyone to just sit back and relax. The kid is only 20, and he hasn't even played a full season yet, so it is far, far too early to write him off. Just be patient. I still believe in him.
Everybody